A lot of people have been asking me lately about how I switched from residential to commercial brokerage early in my career. When I started in real estate, I was 18 years old and I was going to Penn State mainly to play hockey, but also to get a degree. And I was getting a degree in real estate. I learned a real estate business from my dad, who was a residential broker as well as a appraiser. And so I looked at what he was doing, and we lived on a street with a number of doctors and attorneys and CPAs, and then there was my dad, who never went to college. And I looked at my career opportunities. I said, that real estate looks pretty good, so let me get into that. The first couple years at Penn State, I got a job at a local residential real estate company in State College, and they were kind enough to let me start, but they weren't really too trusting of a college freshman going out there and selling houses for them. So I started off as a runner. Essentially, I would put signs in the yard for agents. I would run to the courthouse and pull deeds and property assessment cards, because at that time, that was way before the internet and way before you had a property appraiser online that you could get that information from. So you had to literally go to the courthouse and pull that information. So I would do that for them on a daily basis, and had a chance to really learn the residential business by working with so many of their agents. And what I found was their selling ability far exceeded what I saw on the commercial side. Good residential agents are the absolute best marketers out there, bar none. And you can see it today, even with the social media. I think that the residential side is way ahead of the commercial side in terms of polish and just how they put their marketing and branding together. But that carried with me a lot. So when I graduated from Penn State, I got into the appraisal business for a couple years, realized that I really loved going to the bank and selling my services. I just didn't like doing the actual book report of the commercial appraisal. So I moved down to Orlando and started with CBRE, which at the time was CB Commercial, back in the early part of 1998. And so when I transitioned into commercial real estate, the first thing I noticed was the deal length of time. So on the residential side, you could list a house, put it under contract in 30 days, and within 60 days or 90 days you had a check. On the commercial side, I started working with clients and it just was slow going. And what I found was the deal length of time was really running from 6 to 18 months. And so luckily I was able to put away a little bit of money before I started. And the other thing that helped me out was CB actually let me work with their appraisal or valuation group on the weekends and early mornings to supplement my income. So I was literally doing two jobs at CB when I started. I was doing appraisal work and the commercial brokerage, which in retrospect, I don't think I could have made it through without having both of those sources of income early in my career. But the first step going from residential to commercial is understanding the maturity of the deal cycle. So you're going to go from 60 to 90 day deals to, let's say, 6 to maybe a year and a half, 6 months to maybe a year and a half to get the deal done. The second thing that I learned was you needed technical skills in terms of being able to underwrite a deal. And so what helped me was my appraisal background. The commercial real estate appraisal experience really helped me out early in my career. So what did that mean? First of all, you have to understand time value of money, understanding how a lease on a commercial property impacts its value. And so if you sign a 5-year lease or a 10-year lease, understanding how that's going to impact the marketability of the property, how attractive it is to an investor, and being able to utilize the cost, income, and sales comparison approaches to value when you're doing a broker opinion of value or you're trying to establish pricing for a client. The next thing that I found very important was finding a lane and sticking to it. So on the residential side, my business was just try to list anything and sell it, right? If it was a residential property, no matter where it was, what type, I was going to try to sell it. On the commercial side, it really pays to go into a niche of office, industrial, retail. And in a bigger city, you can even break that down further into tenant representation, landlord representation, investment sales. So you can look at specialization from a number of different angles. But the more you specialize, the more you become the go-to person in that particular specialty, the better. And so it was hard for me in the beginning because I was given industrial as my specialty when I started at CB. But one of the first opportunities I had was a friend of mine that needed office space. And instead of being able to go and do the deal myself, I could have done it. I probably wouldn't have done a very good job, but I could have represented him. I had to refer that to somebody in our office that specialized in office leasing. And I got 20% of the deal instead of 100% of the deal. But that did two things. It kept me in my lane. So people began to understand what I did, what I was good at. And it also helped my client to get really good representation from somebody that specialized in that product type. If you're in a larger market and you're trying to do a little bit of everything, over the long term, I think that hurts you. Because if you're not known for one thing, you're really not known for anything. And so getting a specialty as soon as you can, I think makes a lot of sense. Now, when you're starting out in the business, you should research your market to know, hey, if I specialize in freezer cooler buildings in a small market, and that's all I do, can I make money at that? Maybe not. But if your specialty is industrial and you're even in a small market, like I'm in Orlando, Orlando's not a giant industrial market, but I do really well. And so just find a specialty that you kind of like, you're good at, and you can make money at. If you can combine those three, something that you like, something that you can add value in, and something where there's income to be made in that, if you combine those three, then you're going to have a success story on your hands. So pick your specialty. That's kind of the next thing. What I would tell any residential broker looking to seg over to commercial is use your marketing skills and apply them on the commercial side. And if you were a good residential agent, I think you'll be a great commercial agent. When I started, I was putting out postcards, and I had my picture in my postcards. And at the time, in the commercial industry, everybody was saying they're a client advisor or a consultant. Nobody really even wanted to say the sales term. It was almost like commercial real estate, you were too good to be a salesperson. I flipped that on its ear. I was all in on the sales. And one of the things that I realized I had to do was I had to build my own brand. And if you have experience on the residential side, you already get this, right? Because on the residential side, if you don't build a really strong brand, there are so many residential agents that you just never stand out. You can't get attention. And attention is important whether you're doing residential or commercial. It's really not who you know, it's who knows you. And the more you can get out there and get exposed in the market, the better. So from a residential side, if you have experience building your brand, embrace that, bring it over into the commercial side of the business, and I think you'll do really well. So for me, what I did when I started was I just let the market know I was the #1 industrial broker in Central Florida. That was my tagline. That's what I went with. Now, in the beginning of my career, in the first 3 to 5 years, was I really the #1 industrial broker in Central Florida? I don't know. In my mind, I was. That was good enough for me. I guess there's a million metrics to decide if you're #1. I used that, and then the second or third year of my career, I was named Industrial Broker of the Year by NAIOP, which is a industry group nationally, and they had a chapter in Orlando, and they ranked the brokers by production each year, and I was named the industrial broker of the year, and I just leveraged that to the hilt, right? I just really ran with that. And fortunately for me, over my 28-year career, I think I've won that award maybe 25 times. I think there was only a couple years I haven't been recognized as the number one industrial broker in my market. So in some ways, maybe that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I would make sure I was in the conversation. So what you want to do is, if you're looking to switch from residential to commercial, you have to keep in mind that you need to be number one or number two in your specialty and what you're going to specialize in. You don't have to be the number one, but you have to be in the conversation, so that when somebody says, oh, I've got an industrial building in Orlando, who should I reach out to? Well, they may say somebody else, but they're also going to say, oh, you got to talk to David Murphy as well. And that's where you want to get to. That's kind of the gold standard for how you want to progress your career on the residential side. As you're kind of getting into it, if you're looking to make the switch, I've been there. I know how that works. I'd be happy to talk to you. Feel free to DM me or leave a message in the comments below. Happy to help you as you're kind of moving along your career. I hope this helped you and maybe gave you a little bit of encouragement if you're looking to switch. And I will share with you, commercial real estate is not easy. So if you're looking to make a switch because you're like, man, I think it'll be easier than what I'm doing on the residential side, I don't necessarily think it's harder or easier. It's different, but it's going to take a tremendous amount of work and investment, and you can't kind of go in. That's also the resi-mercial concept where, oh, I'll keep selling houses and I will try to do a couple commercial deals on the side as like a side hustle. That also I haven't found effective. There may be people who do it. Maybe somebody out there makes money doing it. But I've found that the most successful commercial brokers are the ones that jump in, burn the boats, go all in on the commercial side, and be willing to grind it out for 3 to 5 years without a whole ton of success in order to make it to the other side. So hopefully this helps you. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to any questions that you may have. Thanks.